Mental energy. Introduction. What you focus on grows. What you ignore fades. But what if you've never truly learned how to focus? For centuries, humans have possessed a hidden force, one so powerful that it shapes our reality, determines our success, and influences our very state of being. This force is concentration, the ability to harness and direct our mental and emotional energy with precision. But somewhere along the way, this knowledge was lost. Ancient civilizations understood the power of focused energy. Monks, warriors, and philosophers practiced deep concentration, knowing that the mind could be sharpened like a blade. Yet in today's world of constant distraction, endless notifications, and mental noise, we have forgotten how to control the most important resource we own, our energy. It wasn't taken from us in a dramatic event. It wasn't erased from history books. Instead, we willingly traded it for comfort, speed, and convenience. The rise of technology has made information easier to access, but it has also weakened our ability to process it deeply. Instead of training our minds to sustain attention, we are conditioned to jump from one stimulus to another, scrolling, clicking, swiping. The result is a scattered mind, a drained body, and a life where we feel busy but unfulfilled. But here's the secret. Focus is not just about attention, it's about energy. Every thought, every emotion, every decision carries an energetic cost. The more we waste this energy on distractions, the less power we have to build the life we want. This audiobook is not just about productivity. It is about understanding the hidden mechanics of your own energy and learning how to concentrate it with laser precision. It explores why your energy leaks and how to stop the drain, the scientific connection between focus, emotions, and personal power, and how to train your mind like an elite performer, even if you struggle with distractions. It reveals how ancient wisdom and modern neuroscience align in the art of deep concentration and provides practical exercises to rebuild focus, increase mental stamina, and create effortless momentum. Before you continue, a warning. This is not a quick fix book. It will challenge how you think, how you use your time, and how you engage with the world around you. It will require effort, practice, and an open mind. But if you are willing to reclaim the power of your focus, you will unlock something rare in today's world, the ability to shape your own reality. Chapter 1. The Science of Mental Energy. Everything in existence operates on energy. From the vast cosmic forces that shape galaxies to the microscopic electrical impulses in our brains, energy is the fundamental currency of reality. Yet while we acknowledge the power of external energy, electricity, heat, motion, we often overlook the most personal and potent form of energy we possess, our attention. Attention is not just a cognitive function, it is a form of energy distribution. Every moment of focus directs energy towards something, whether consciously chosen or passively absorbed. This is why deep concentration feels powerful and productive, while mindless distraction leaves us feeling drained. The difference is in how our energy is being channeled. The human brain operates like an electrical circuit, constantly firing neurons, forming connections, and generating thoughts. Every time we concentrate, we are directing electrical impulses toward a single goal, strengthening neural pathways and reinforcing patterns of efficiency. But when our focus is scattered, our mental energy is fragmented, dissipating without impact. This explains why, even with minimal physical exertion, modern life feels draining. The mind must continually split its energy between processing conflicting stimuli such as background noise, social interactions, notifications, and internal thoughts. Every disruption, no matter how short, uses energy and impairs one's capacity for sustained effort and profound thought. Although many people consider multitasking to be a skill, it really drains energy. Instead of performing several activities at once, the brain quickly changes between them, depleting its capacity for concentration and leaving behind a mental haze that impairs effectiveness and clarity. Regaining focus requires an understanding of this energy flow. Focus is an energy management technique, not only a habit. Those who are proficient in it are able to precisely focus their mental energy, maintaining focus for longer stretches of time, making more intelligent choices, and feeling more in control of their inner states. Concentration training transforms the mind into a powerful instrument. It has the ability to eliminate extraneous sounds, cut through distractions, and sharpen even the most complicated concepts. There is a reason why high performers across disciplines, from scientists and artists to athletes and entrepreneurs, are known for their ability to focus. It is not talent alone that separates them from the average individual. It is their ability to channel energy toward a singular purpose without allowing interference to dilute their efforts. The greatest discoveries, the most innovative creations, and the most profound moments of personal transformation all arise from undivided concentration. But if focus is so powerful, why does it feel so difficult to maintain? The answer lies in how we have conditioned ourselves to use our energy. Most people have never been trained to control their attention, just as an untrained muscle lacks strength and endurance. Instead, we have been programmed by modern society to live in a state of constant mental fragmentation. Short bursts of stimulation, rapid shifts in engagement, and an overwhelming flood of information have weakened our natural ability to sustain attention. The modern mind, accustomed to distraction, struggles to remain still. To change this, we must begin by recognizing that focus is a skill, not an inherent trait. Anyone can strengthen their ability to concentrate by actively reshaping their mental habits. Just as physical exercise builds muscle over time, deliberate focus builds cognitive endurance. But the process requires effort, commitment, and an understanding of how energy moves through the mind. The first step in mastering concentration is awareness. We must observe where our attention flows throughout the day, identifying the patterns that deplete our energy and those that strengthen it. Every moment of distraction carries a cost, but every moment of intentional focus builds power. The more we learn to direct our energy with purpose, the more control we gain over our reality. Mastering mental energy is not about forcing the mind into unnatural states of discipline. It is about realigning with the natural ability we have always possessed. Children exhibit remarkable concentration when engaged in something that fascinates them, losing themselves completely in the experience. The human mind is designed to focus deeply when given the right conditions. The challenge is not to create focus from nothing, but to remove the barriers that prevent it from thriving. Concentration is the foundation of creation, achievement, and mastery. Those who learn to wield their mental energy with intention will find themselves capable of extraordinary things. The power has always been there, waiting to be claimed. Chapter 2. The Emotional Circuit. Energy is not just a function of the mind, it is deeply intertwined with emotion. Every thought carries an emotional charge, and every emotion influences the way energy flows through the body and brain. When we talk about focus, we are not only talking about mental clarity, we are talking about emotional stability, because no one can concentrate deeply when their emotions are in chaos. If the mind is the steering wheel, emotion is the fuel. The quality of that fuel determines how far, how fast, and how smoothly we travel. Emotions are not random occurrences. They are biochemical reactions shaped by our thoughts, beliefs, and past experiences. Every feeling, whether joy, anger, frustration, or determination, triggers a specific energy response. When we experience fear, for example, the body releases cortisol and adrenaline, activating the fight or flight response. This energy surge can be useful in survival situations, but in everyday life it often leads to scattered thoughts, impulsive actions, and an inability to sustain focus. Conversely, emotions like passion, curiosity, and excitement generate a different kind of energy, one that enhances concentration and endurance. This is why our emotional state determines our ability to focus. A person experiencing stress or anxiety will find their attention constantly pulled in different directions, unable to settle on a single task. Their energy is dispersed, burned up by worry, frustration, or fear of failure. On the other hand, someone operating from a place of calm confidence can channel their energy toward a singular objective, cutting through distractions with ease. The key to mastering focus is not just mental discipline, it is emotional regulation. The mind cannot function optimally when it is being flooded with uncontrolled emotions. But controlling emotions does not mean suppressing them. Many people misunderstand emotional mastery as the act of shutting down feelings or pretending they do not exist. This approach is not only ineffective, but also counterproductive. Suppressed emotions do not disappear. They manifest in other ways: restlessness, physical tension, and loss of motivation. The real solution is not suppression, but transmutation, the ability to convert emotional energy into productive focus. Athletes, performers, and high achievers across all fields understand this principle, whether consciously or instinctively. They do not eliminate nervousness before a competition or speech. They redirect it. They take the adrenaline and channel it into heightened awareness and sharper performance. Instead of allowing fear to scatter their energy, they use it to sharpen their focus. The same principle applies to all of us. Instead of being controlled by our emotions, we can learn to harness them, using their energy as fuel for concentration rather than as a force of distraction. One of the most powerful tools for emotional regulation is awareness. The moment you become aware of an emotional state, you create space between yourself and the emotion, making it easier to control. Without awareness, emotions operate on autopilot, dictating thoughts and actions without conscious intervention. But once you recognize, "I am feeling anxious" or "I am becoming frustrated," you gain the ability to redirect that energy rather than being consumed by it. The body plays a crucial role in this process. Every emotion has a physical counterpart. Anxiety tightens the chest, stress knots the stomach, and anger tenses the jaw and shoulders. By recognizing these signals early, we can interrupt emotional patterns before they spiral out of control. Breathwork, for example, is a direct line to the nervous system. Slow, controlled breathing signals the brain to shift out of survival mode, restoring clarity and control. This is why almost every ancient wisdom tradition, from meditation practices in the East to warrior training in the West, incorporates breathing techniques as a tool for focus and composure. Beyond breathwork, movement is another key to emotional transmutation. Emotions are stored in the body, and stagnation can cause energy blockages that make focus difficult. This is why taking a short walk, stretching, or even changing posture can shift emotional energy instantly. A person slouched over, staring at their phone, will feel different than someone standing tall with their shoulders back and head high. Posture, breath, and movement are physical levers for emotional control, and emotional control is the foundation of concentration. Mental reframing, or altering our interpretation of emotions, is the next stage of emotional transformation. Anxiety is often viewed as a weakness and a distraction. However, what if anxiety was only unreleased energy? "I'm too nervous to think, yet if I were thinking, I would have more energy to concentrate intently." Only the meaning we give an emotion changes, not the emotion itself. And whether an emotion turns into a source of power or a distraction depends on its meaning. For instance, one of the emotions that drains the most energy is fear. It divides focus, stops activity, and keeps the mind stuck in a never-ending cycle of uncertainty. However, fear is only a warning, a notice that something significant is in jeopardy. Instead of letting fear distract us, we may harness its energy to sharpen our attention if we teach ourselves to view it as an opportunity rather than a threat. This change in viewpoint is what enables some people to function well under tremendous pressure while others crumble. The ability to transform fear into heightened awareness is what makes a difference, not the lack of dread. This also applies to frustration. The typical individual interprets irritation as an excuse to give up, go away, and do something simpler when confronted with a challenging activity. However, people who have mastered attention know that irritation is a sign of growth, an indication that the brain is expanding its comfort zone and making new connections. Knowing that growth lies on the other side of that suffering, they lean into their displeasure rather than fighting it. This ability to transmute emotions is what separates those who stay focused despite challenges from those who give up at the first sign of difficulty. It is the ability to take raw, unfiltered emotional energy and redirect it into productive thought and action. It is a skill that can be trained like a muscle, and with practice it becomes second nature. Most people believe that they struggle with focus because they lack discipline, but in reality, they struggle because they have not learned to regulate their emotional energy. The mind cannot focus when it is being pulled in multiple directions by uncontrolled emotions. But once emotional energy is directed rather than scattered, the focus becomes effortless. It is no longer a battle against distraction. It is a natural state of being. This is why true concentration is not just about willpower. It is about alignment, bringing thoughts, emotions, and physical energy into harmony. When these forces are in sync, the mind becomes a powerful instrument capable of sustained attention, deep insight, and remarkable efficiency. This is the difference between forcing focus and embodying it. The former is a struggle, the latter is flow. The highest performers in the world do not rely on fleeting motivation. They have learned to command their emotional energy, using it to fuel rather than hinder their focus. This is not a mystical gift, nor is it reserved for a select few. It is a skill, a practice, a discipline that anyone can cultivate. The moment you stop seeing emotions as obstacles and start seeing them as energy, you begin to reclaim control over your mind. And the more control you have over your mind, the more control you have over your life. Concentration is not just about what you think, it is about what you feel, and more importantly, what you do with those feelings. Those who master the emotional circuit master their ability to focus, and those who master their focus hold the key to transformation. Chapter 3. Attention as a laser beam. The mind is like a beam of light. Scattered, it illuminates everything but penetrates nothing. Focused, it cuts through darkness like a laser. The difference between an ordinary light bulb and a laser is not the amount of energy, but how that energy is concentrated. The same principle applies to human attention. Most people go through life with their mental energy diffused, leaking focus into every direction, half listening to conversations while scrolling on their phone, jumping between tasks without completing any, and consuming endless information without retaining any of it. The result is a life where effort is high, but impact is low. True mastery begins when attention is harnessed with precision. A focused mind is like a sharpened sword, capable of slicing through complexity, solving problems with clarity, and creating momentum effortlessly. But developing such focus requires understanding how attention works, why it weakens, and how to train it to become an unshakable force. Attention is a finite resource. Every day we wake up with a limited amount of mental energy, and how we use it determines our effectiveness. When we multitask or expose ourselves to constant distractions, we are not just wasting time, we are depleting cognitive energy. This is why scrolling through social media for an hour can feel exhausting, even though it requires no physical effort. Every swipe, every new post, every shifting image forces the brain to reorient itself, creating a cognitive tax that drains energy without producing anything of value. The modern world is designed to attract attention. Every notification, every advertisement, every algorithm is competing for mental bandwidth, pulling the mind in countless directions. Those who do not take control of their attention become prisoners of external stimuli, constantly reacting rather than consciously directing their focus. The first step in reclaiming attention is to recognize that focus is a skill, not a personality trait. People are not born with either a distracted or a disciplined mind. Focus is developed through deliberate practice, just as physical strength is built through training. The more we train ourselves to concentrate, the stronger our mental endurance becomes. But just as muscles weaken when neglected, attention atrophies when it is constantly allowed to wander. Training attention begins with single tasking. Instead of dividing focus between multiple activities, the goal is to channel all mental energy into one task at a time. This is more difficult than it sounds because the modern mind is conditioned to crave stimulation. Most people feel uneasy when faced with extended periods of uninterrupted focus. They instinctively reach for their phone, check emails, or seek some form of distraction, not because they need to, but because their brains have been wired to seek novelty. Breaking this habit requires conscious effort. One of the most effective ways to sharpen focus is to create focus windows, specific blocks of time where all energy is directed toward a single objective. During these windows, distractions must be eliminated. The phone is put away, unnecessary tabs are closed, and the environment is structured to minimize interruptions. At first, this can feel uncomfortable, like forcing an overactive mind to sit still. But over time, the discomfort fades, and deep focus becomes second nature. A critical component of maintaining laser-like focus is learning how to enter the flow state, a mental zone where concentration is effortless and time seems to disappear. Athletes, musicians, and elite performers frequently experience this state, but it is not limited to them. Flow occurs when challenge and skill are balanced, when a task is difficult enough to require full engagement, but not so overwhelming that it creates frustration. The key to accessing flow is to push the boundaries of focus without crossing into overload. Rituals help prepare the mind for deep focus. Just as an athlete warms up before a competition, the brain benefits from routines that signal it is time to concentrate. Simple actions like deep breathing, setting a clear intention, or engaging in a brief period of mindfulness can prime the mind for sustained attention. The mistake many people make is expecting focus to arrive on demand, without creating the right conditions for it to thrive. Another fundamental principle of attention training is learning to say no. Every commitment, every task, every piece of information we consume demands a portion of our mental energy. Many people struggle with focus not because they lack discipline, but because they are overwhelmed by too many obligations. They say yes to everything, scattering their energy across multiple projects, conversations, and distractions. The most effective individuals are not those who do the most, but those who focus on the essential. They guard their attention fiercely, treating it as the valuable resource it is. The ability to ignore is as important as the ability to focus. Every moment of distraction is a moment lost. However, distraction does not always come from the outside. It often comes from within. Intrusive thoughts, unnecessary worries, and self-doubt can fracture attention just as much as external interruptions. The disciplined mind learns to observe these thoughts without becoming entangled in them, allowing them to pass like clouds rather than attaching to them. Breathing techniques can aid this process. The mind and breath are closely linked. When breathing is shallow and erratic, the mind becomes restless. But when breathing is deep and controlled, the mind follows suit. One of the simplest, yet most powerful exercises is the 4-7-8 method. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. This practice not only calms the nervous system, but also sharpens attention by anchoring awareness to the present moment. The greatest misconception about focus is that it requires force. Many people believe concentration is about straining, about forcing the mind to stay locked onto a task through sheer willpower. But the real focus is effortless. It is not about wrestling with distraction. It is about learning to direct attention naturally, like guiding a river rather than trying to stop the flow of water. This shift in approach makes all the difference. When focus feels like a battle, the mind resists. But when it becomes an alignment of mental energy, it flows with ease. The most powerful thinkers, creators, and leaders throughout history were not those who forced their minds to obey, but those who understood how to guide their attention with precision. Attention is not just about productivity, it is about how we experience life. When the mind is scattered, life feels chaotic. When the mind is focused, everything becomes more vivid. Conversations are deeper, learning is faster, and creativity flourishes. The way we direct our attention determines the quality of our reality. Mastering focus is not about removing all distractions forever. That is impossible. It is about learning to return to focus faster each time we drift. It is about recognizing when energy is being wasted and redirecting it toward what truly matters. Those who develop this skill gain an incredible advantage, not just in work, but in every aspect of life. The question is not whether we can focus. The question is whether we are willing to train ourselves to do it. The choice is ours. The mind is either a light bulb or a laser. How we use it determines everything. Chapter 4. The Energy of Thought. Every thought is a pulse of energy. It moves through the mind like an electrical current, shaping perception, influencing emotion, and dictating action. But not all thoughts carry the same weight. Some are scattered and weak, flickering like dying embers. Others are concentrated and powerful, cutting through uncertainty with the force of a lightning bolt. The difference is not in the thought itself, but in the energy behind it, the intensity of focus, the clarity of intention, and the ability to sustain it without interference. Thought is not passive. It is an active force that generates momentum. When an idea is held with enough intensity, it begins to take on a life of its own, attracting supporting thoughts, shaping emotions, and influencing behavior. This is why those who think with precision and consistency tend to achieve more than those who let their thoughts wander aimlessly. Their minds are not a chaotic storm of conflicting impulses. They are a finely tuned instrument playing a deliberate melody. But most people never harness the full power of their thoughts. Instead of directing mental energy toward meaningful goals, they allow it to be consumed by distraction, self-doubt, and trivial concerns. They think in fragments, jumping from one incomplete idea to the next, never holding on to a thought long enough for it to gain momentum. They worry, ruminate, and react, depleting their energy on thoughts that do not serve them. And in doing so, they unknowingly shape a life that feels scattered and unfocused. The first step in reclaiming the energy of thought is understanding that thinking is a skill, not just an automatic function of the brain. Just as we train the body to move with strength and precision, we must train the mind to think with clarity and purpose. This begins with awareness, the ability to observe our own thoughts rather than being controlled by them. Most people go through life without ever questioning the quality of their thoughts. They assume that if a thought appears in their mind, it must be valid. But not all thoughts deserve attention. Some are nothing more than noise, mental static generated by conditioning, fear, or external influence. The disciplined mind learns to filter these out, focusing only on thoughts that align with its goals and values. One of the most effective ways to sharpen thinking is through deliberate questioning. Instead of passively accepting every thought that arises, we must learn to challenge them. A weak mind asks, "Why is this happening to me?" A strong mind asks, "How can I use this?" A scattered mind thinks in vague generalities. A focused mind thinks in precise terms. The more specific and intentional our thoughts become, the more powerful they are. However, cognition involves both creation and analysis. Every significant accomplishment, creation, or innovation started as a single concept that was sufficiently intensely held in the mind to become a reality. The issue is that most people don't give their true desires enough thought. They briefly consider an idea before letting it fade away in favor of other distractions or uncertainties. They lack the energy to hold their thoughts and turn them into something tangible. Visualization is a very effective tool because of this. It is about teaching the mind to maintain concentration on a desired objective until it materializes, not about daydreaming or wishful thinking. According to neuroscience research, the brain is not very good at telling the difference between an imagined and genuine event. The same brain pathways that athletes use for physical training are also activated when they mentally practice their performances. This implies that each time we give a goal our full attention, we are fortifying the neural pathways that will enable it to come to pass. But visualization alone is not enough. Thought must be paired with action. Many people fall into the trap of overthinking, endlessly analyzing, planning, and dreaming without ever taking the first step. They convince themselves that they need more information, more preparation, or more certainty before they can move forward. But thinking without action is like generating electricity without ever plugging it into anything. The energy exists, but it is never used. The key is to develop the habit of thinking with movement. This means turning thoughts into action as quickly as possible before doubt has the chance to intervene. The longer we hesitate, the more resistance builds. But when we take immediate action, no matter how small, we create momentum. A single step forward generates energy, making the next step easier. This is why some of the most successful people in history have been known for their decisiveness. They do not waste energy overanalyzing every possibility. They think deeply, but they also move quickly, trusting that clarity will come through action rather than endless deliberation. They understand that thought alone does not create change. It must be followed by movement. But not all movement is productive. Many people mistake busyness for progress. They fill their days with tasks, meetings, and errands, exhausting themselves without ever making meaningful progress toward their goals. They believe they are taking action, but in reality they are simply avoiding the discomfort of focused thought. True progress requires both mental energy and deliberate action, aligned toward a clear objective. To think with power, we must also learn to protect our mental space. The world is full of distractions, designed to pull our attention in every direction. If we do not guard our thoughts, they will be hijacked by external forces, advertisements, social media, negative influences. This is why mental discipline is just as important as physical discipline. A strong mind is not one that never experiences distraction. It is one that quickly returns to focus. Meditation, deep work, and solitude are some of the most effective ways to train the mind to think with clarity. They create space for thought to develop fully, uninterrupted by external noise. Some of the greatest thinkers in history, Da Vinci, Tesla, Einstein, were known for their periods of deep solitude, where they could think without interference. They understood that breakthroughs do not happen in chaos. They happen in stillness. The modern world does not encourage stillness. It rewards speed, reaction, and constant engagement. But the greatest minds are not those who move the fastest. They are those who think with the most depth. To cultivate this depth, we must be willing to slow down, to sit with our thoughts, and develop the patience required for true insight. Thought is energy, and energy is power. Those who waste their thoughts on trivial matters will find themselves drained and exhausted by the weight of meaningless distractions. But those who learn to think with precision, clarity, and intensity will discover a force within them greater than any external obstacle. The challenge is not in generating powerful thoughts. Every mind is capable of doing so. The challenge is in holding those thoughts long enough for them to shape reality. Most people let go of their greatest ideas too soon. They allow doubt to weaken them, distraction to erase them, and fear to bury them before they ever take root. But those who persist, who learn to sustain thought with energy, purpose, and unwavering focus, will find that their minds become the architects of their destiny. A single thought, held with enough power, can change everything. The question is, are you willing to train your mind to hold it? Chapter 5. The Will to Direct Energy. There is a moment in every decision where we either take control of our energy or allow it to scatter. This moment is small, almost imperceptible, but it determines everything. It is the instant when we choose to act with intention or let external forces decide for us. This is the essence of willpower, not just the ability to resist temptation, but the skill of directing energy with precision toward what truly matters. Many people misunderstand willpower. They see it as an internal battle, a struggle between discipline and desire, where effort alone determines success. But true willpower is not about fighting ourselves. It is about aligning mental, emotional, and physical energy into a singular direction. The more scattered our energy, the weaker our will. The more concentrated our energy, the stronger our ability to shape reality. Willpower is often described as a muscle, something that weakens with overuse and strengthens with training. This analogy is partially true, but incomplete. A muscle grows tired when used continuously, but the right kind of training makes it more resilient over time. The same is true for willpower. The more we use it intentionally, the more it grows. The problem is that most people waste their willpower on small, unnecessary decisions before they ever apply them to something meaningful. Every choice we make requires a certain amount of mental energy. What to wear, what to eat, whether to check our phone, whether to scroll through social media, each of these choices takes a fraction of our daily energy reserves. Individually, they seem insignificant, but added together, they create decision fatigue. leaving us exhausted before we ever get to the important work of the day. This is why some of the most productive people in the world simplify their daily lives. They wear the same type of clothing, eat the same meals, follow the same routines. By eliminating trivial decisions, they preserve their willpower for the choices that truly matter. But eliminating small decisions is only part of the equation. The real challenge is training the mind to commit fully to a chosen path. Many people struggle with willpower because they remain in a state of hesitation. They say they want to change, but they leave space for negotiation. They decide to focus, but they also keep distractions within reach. They commit to a new habit, but they allow excuses to remain an option. This creates internal friction, draining energy that could be used for action. True willpower is not about constantly pushing against resistance. It is about removing the need for resistance in the first place. When a decision is made with full commitment, no energy is wasted on questioning it. A person who has truly decided to change their life does not wake up each morning wondering whether they will follow through. They simply do it. The decision has already been made. This is why willpower must be paired with identity. When people try to change their behavior through effort alone, they often fail. They rely on motivation, which fluctuates, but when they change the way they see themselves, their actions become effortless. A person who sees themselves as a smoker will always struggle to quit, no matter how much willpower they apply. A person who identifies as a non-smoker has already made the decision internally. No negotiation is needed. The same is true for every habit, every discipline, every goal. The strongest willpower is the kind that requires the least amount of effort. This is not because the task is easier, but because the internal decision is absolute. The most successful people are not necessarily the ones who try the hardest. They are the ones who remove unnecessary internal conflict. They do not waste energy debating whether they should work out, practice their craft, or stay disciplined. They have already decided who they are, and their actions follow naturally. Another key to directing energy is understanding the difference between force and flow. Many people believe willpower is about forcing themselves through difficult situations, but forcing action through sheer struggle is unsustainable. It creates exhaustion, resistance, and burnout. True willpower is about aligning the mind and body so that effort feels natural, almost inevitable. Think of a river. Water does not fight against obstacles, it flows around them. But when water is directed through a narrow channel, it becomes a powerful force, capable of cutting through rock. The same is true for human energy. A scattered mind, like an unfocused river, has little impact. But when thought, intention, and action are aligned, energy moves effortlessly in the desired direction. This is why people who find deep purpose in their work often feel energized rather than drained. They are not forcing themselves forward. They are being pulled by the current they have created. But how do we create this current? The first step is to eliminate competing intentions. Most people fail to focus not because they lack willpower, but because they are trying to focus on too many things at once. They want success, but they also want comfort. They want discipline, but they also want ease. They want to master their craft, but they also want constant entertainment. These competing desires cancel each other out, leaving them stuck in place. The way forward is through single-minded commitment. A person who decides, with absolute certainty, that they will succeed in a given area has already won half the battle. Their energy is no longer divided. Their will is no longer being drained by internal conflict. They are no longer wasting effort debating their choices. They simply act. Another crucial element of strong willpower is momentum. The hardest part of any task is the beginning. This is where the most resistance exists. But once movement has started, energy begins to flow. A runner who pushes through the first few minutes of discomfort finds that their body adapts. A writer who forced themselves to type the first few sentences often find that the words start coming naturally. The brain resists change, but once it begins moving in a certain direction, it prefers to continue rather than stop. This is why one of the simplest ways to strengthen willpower is to start before you feel ready. Many people wait for motivation, inspiration, or the perfect conditions before taking action. But waiting is a trap. It keeps energy stagnant. The secret is to begin with small but deliberate action. A single push-up leads to a workout. A few words lead to a completed book. A few minutes of deep work leads to hours of productivity. Willpower does not thrive in hesitation. It grows in movement. The more we act, the stronger it becomes. The more we trust our ability to follow through, the less resistance we experience. Those who master willpower do not do so through endless struggle. They do so by creating an internal environment where struggle is no longer necessary. The difference between those who achieve their goals and those who do not is not intelligence, talent, or luck. It is the ability to direct energy with intention, eliminate distractions, and commit fully to a chosen path. This is the true nature of willpower. It is not about suffering through endless battles of discipline. It is about removing the need for battle altogether. The question is not whether you have enough willpower. You do. The real question is, are you using it to fight against yourself, or to direct your energy where it needs to go? Chapter 6. The Alchemy of Concentration. Beyond simple focus, there is a secret skill to concentration. It is the capacity to turn unprocessed, dispersed energy into something potent and transforming. We have the power to transform distraction, emotion, and disorganized thought into a single concentrated force, just like the ancient alchemists tried to transform base metals into gold. The ability to transform mental energy into clarity, productivity, and profound mastery is known as the alchemy of focus. Concentration is often misunderstood. They believe that it involves using sheer willpower to keep the mind focused, battling distractions, and sustaining effort. However, alignment, not force, is the key to true concentration. It is about aligning ideas, feelings, and behaviors so that concentration flows naturally. It takes less work to keep someone's attention when they are more in line with their objective. By eliminating the things that weaken the mind, we may develop concentration rather than forcing it. The typical mind functions similarly to an untuned instrument. It struggles to maintain focus for longer than a few seconds and flits from idea to idea, responding to whatever stimuli come up. This isn't because the brain can't focus deeply. Rather, it's because it hasn't been taught to do so. A distracted mind can be educated to attain extreme degrees of focus, much like a dispersed beam of light can be turned into a laser. The secret is to comprehend how attention works and what influences its strengths and weaknesses. Intention is the initial component of concentration. The mind needs a clear instruction to focus. It does not focus on its own. A lot of folks have trouble focusing only because they don't know what they're focusing on. They approach activities in an ambiguous manner, lacking a defined goal, which allows their thoughts to get distracted. However, the brain organizes itself around a definite objective when it is given one. For this reason, establishing defined goals before starting any work significantly improves focus. The mind gets stronger the more focused one is. Distinguishing interference is the second component of concentration. The removal of obstacles is what is needed to focus on, not more effort. Consider attempting to hear just one voice in a packed room. The background noise only has to be lowered. The voice doesn't need to be louder. Mental attention is no different. The issue is that competing distractions are drowning out our thoughts, not that they are feeble. Digital clutter, background noise, notifications, and pointless anxieties all serve as distractions that divide our focus. Eliminating these interruptions is about making mental space for in-depth work, not just about establishing quiet. One of the most overlooked factors in concentration is emotional stability. A person who is overwhelmed by stress, anxiety, or unresolved emotions will find it nearly impossible to focus deeply. This is because emotions consume mental bandwidth. Just as a computer slows down when too many programs are running, the mind becomes sluggish when it is preoccupied with emotional conflicts. This is why those who master concentration are also masters of emotional regulation. They do not suppress emotions, but they know how to redirect them. They use frustration as fuel for determination, fear as fuel for awareness, and curiosity as fuel for learning. Fuel for Physical energy is another critical factor in concentration. A fatigued body leads to a fatigued mind. Sleep, nutrition, and movement all affect the brain's ability to sustain attention. Many people struggle with focus not because they lack discipline, but because their bodies are depleted. They try to force concentration when their brain is running on empty. But concentration is not just a mental exercise, it is a full-body experience. When the body is energized, the mind follows. Breathing is one of the most powerful yet underestimated tools for sharpening focus. The way we breathe affects the way we think. Rapid, shallow breathing fuels anxiety and mental restlessness. Deep, controlled breathing signals the brain to enter a state of calm, increasing clarity and concentration. This is why meditation, mindfulness, and breathing exercises are practiced by some of the most disciplined minds in the world, from monks to elite athletes. They understand that focus is not just about the mind, it is about the entire system working in harmony. Another key principle of concentration is the rhythm of attention. The mind does not work best in long, continuous stretches of effort. It works best in cycles, periods of deep focus followed by periods of rest. This is why some of the most effective focus strategies, such as the Pomodoro technique, break work into intervals. It is not about working harder, but about working in a way that respects the natural rhythms of the brain. When we push beyond our attention span without breaks, we deplete mental energy. But when we learn to balance focus and recovery, we maximize concentration over the long term. The concept of mental priming also plays a crucial role in sustaining concentration. The mind does not shift into deep focus instantly. It requires a transition period. This is why rituals such as a pre-work routine can dramatically improve focus. Simple actions, such as stretching, listening to a certain type of music, or taking a few deep breaths, can serve as signals to the brain that it is time to enter a state of deep concentration. The more consistently these rituals are practiced, the faster and more effectively the brain learns to engage. One of the greatest myths about concentration is that it requires perfect conditions. Many people believe they need complete silence, the perfect workspace, or a certain level of motivation before they can focus. But those who truly master concentration do not wait for ideal conditions. They train themselves to focus under any conditions. They learn to work amidst noise, tune out distractions, and enter deep focus even when they do not feel like it. This is because they understand that concentration is not about external circumstances, it is about internal control. The final element of concentration is deep immersion. The highest levels of focus occur when a person becomes completely absorbed in their work, losing all sense of time and self-consciousness. This is known as the flow state, where effort feels effortless and productivity reaches its peak. Flow is not something that happens by chance, it is something that can be cultivated. It requires a balance of challenge and skill, a task that is difficult enough to be engaging, but not so overwhelming that it creates frustration. Those who consistently operate in flow are not just more productive, they experience a deeper sense of fulfillment and mastery. The alchemy of concentration is not about working harder, it is about working smarter, about refining mental energy into a precise and powerful force. It is the ability to train the mind to think deeply, eliminate distractions before they arise, regulate emotions, and align the body and mind into a state of effortless focus. Those who master this art do not just achieve more, they experience the world differently. They move through life with clarity, purpose, and an unwavering sense of control. Most people live in a state of mental diffusion, scattered, distracted, and unable to sustain attention for long. But those who train themselves in the art of deep concentration unlock a different level of existence. They see opportunities others miss. They understand problems at a level others cannot. They create, build, and achieve with a power that seems almost effortless. Concentration is not just a skill. It is an art. It is an alchemy. It is the ability to take raw, unfocused energy and refine it into something extraordinary. The question is not whether you can concentrate. The question is whether you are willing to train yourself to do it with mastery. Chapter 7. The Hidden Leaks. where your energy goes. Energy is not just about how much we have, it's about how much we lose. People often focus on how to gain more energy, seeking better nutrition, exercise, or even stimulants to stay sharp. But what if the real issue is not a lack of energy, but leaks in the system? What if we are draining our mental, emotional, and physical reserves without realizing it? Most people start their day with a certain amount of energy, yet by mid-morning or early afternoon they feel exhausted. They assume it's normal, that this is just the way life works. However, energy depletion is not always caused by effort. Often it is caused by inefficiency, distraction, and unnecessary mental strain. If we could see our energy levels the way we see a phone battery, we would be shocked at how quickly we drain it on activities that give nothing in return. One of the biggest hidden leaks is mental clutter. The human mind is constantly processing information, sorting through thoughts, memories, and stimuli. But not all of this mental activity is useful. Many people carry open loops in their minds, unfinished tasks, unresolved problems, and unmade decisions. Each of these open loops consumes energy. They occupy mental space, even when we are not actively thinking about them. This is why we feel overwhelmed when too many things demand our attention at once. It's not just the work itself, it's the background noise of everything left undone. A powerful way to stop this energy drain is to close open loops. When something lingers in the mind, it needs resolution. If a decision needs to be made, make it. If a task needs to be scheduled, write it down with a clear time to complete it. If a problem needs a solution, allocate time to address it rather than letting it hang in the background. The mind, like a computer, slows down when too many tabs are open. Closing them restores processing power. Another major energy leak is emotional residue. Every interaction, every conflict, every piece of negativity we consume leaves an imprint. This is why a single stressful conversation can affect an entire day. People often believe their exhaustion comes from work, but in reality, much of it comes from the emotional weight they carry. Negative emotions, resentment, frustration, worry, act like background applications, draining the battery. To protect energy, we must learn to clear emotional residue before it accumulates. One of the simplest ways to do this is through intentional release. Writing out thoughts in a journal, taking a deep breath before moving on from a stressful moment, or even physically shaking off tension, can signal to the nervous system that it's time to reset. When we do not release emotions, they stay with us, subtly draining energy throughout the day. Another important energy leak is attention. There are many attention traps in the world that are intended to draw and maintain our attention for as long as possible. News cycles, entertainment platforms, and social media all vie for our attention and entice us into never-ending consuming cycles. The issue is not only how much time is wasted on these diversions, but also how they cause us to lose concentration. We pay an unseen price every time we switch between tasks, from fulfilling work to a short dopamine rush, mental exhaustion. One of the most dishonest energy losses is multitasking. Although it creates the appearance of increased productivity, it really weakens concentration and raises stress levels. The brain is not made to manage several complicated tasks at once. Instead, it quickly transitions between them, using energy each time. Regular task switching reduces productivity and increases errors, according to studies. Real power comes from doing one thing well, not from doing a lot of things at once. Decision fatigue is a subtle but important energy loss. Every decision we make, no matter how minor, involves some mental work. Making judgments about what to eat, what to wear, and when to check messages throughout the day gradually saps willpower. High performers simplify their lives for this reason. They automate minor decisions, establish routines, and save their energy for important things. Physical posture and breathing also influence energy levels more than most people realize. A hunched posture, shallow breathing, and lack of movement signal the body to enter a low-energy state. The body and mind exist in a feedback loop. When we carry ourselves with tension, the mind interprets it as stress and energy drains faster. Simply adjusting posture, breathing deeply, and moving regularly throughout the day restores energy. Another overlooked source of energy loss is overcommitment. Many people drain themselves by saying yes to too many things. They overextend their time, energy, and attention, leaving nothing for deep work or meaningful pursuits. This is why learning to say no is one of the most powerful tools for energy conservation. Every commitment is a withdrawal from our energy reserves, and if we are not careful, we give too much to things that do not align with our true priorities. One of the most powerful ways to stop energy leaks is through intentional resets. Just as a computer needs to restart to function efficiently, the mind benefits from moments of deliberate stillness. Short breaks, deep breathing, meditation, or even simply stepping away from screens can restore clarity. Instead of pushing through exhaustion, learning to pause prevents unnecessary depletion. The greatest mistake people make with energy is assuming they must generate more of it. In reality, most people already have enough energy. They are just losing too much of it on the wrong things. When we seal these hidden leaks, we do not need to rely on caffeine, motivation hacks, or extreme productivity tricks. Energy naturally returns. The most powerful minds are not necessarily those who work the hardest. They are the ones who manage energy the best. They understand that conserving energy is just as important as using it. They protect their focus, clear emotional residue, eliminate distractions, and streamline decisions. They do not allow their energy to be scattered by trivial matters. In the end, energy is not just about what we do, it is about what we allow. If we are constantly tired, constantly struggling to focus, and constantly feeling like we are falling behind, the first question should not be, how can I get more energy? The real question is, where is my energy going? Because once we find the leaks, we no longer need to fight for energy. We simply reclaim what was ours all along. Chapter 8. Magnetic Presence. The Power of Focused Energy. There is an undeniable force in those who have mastered focus. They walk into a room and people notice. They speak and others listen. They move through life with a quiet but unmistakable authority. This is not charisma in the traditional sense. It is an energetic presence, the ability to command attention without demanding it. Magnetic presence is not about being loud, extroverted, or physically imposing. It is about the way energy is directed and held. Some people radiate a sense of certainty, while others seem scattered and easily swayed. The difference lies in how they manage and project their energy. Those who have mastered concentration do not just use it for productivity. They use it to shape the way they move through the world. Energy is contagious. We sense it in others before a single word is spoken. A person who is restless and distracted transmits that energy to those around them. They fidget, they check their phone, and their eyes dart around the room. Their attention is divided, and so is their presence. But a person who is fully present, who listens deeply, speaks with intention, and moves with purpose, creates an entirely different effect. They draw people in. They make others feel seen, heard, and understood. This is why some of the most influential people in history, leaders, thinkers, visionaries, were not necessarily the loudest or most charismatic. They were the ones who knew how to direct their energy with precision. Their thoughts were not scattered. Their actions were not impulsive. They did not waste words or energy on things that did not matter. They carried themselves with a sense of certainty that made others trust them. But presence is not just about confidence. It is about awareness. The more aware we are of our own energy, the more we can shape how we interact with the world. Most people go through life without ever truly observing themselves. They react, they rush, and they fill the silence with unnecessary words. They are not fully in their own body. But those who cultivate presence learn to slow down, to breathe, to own their space. They understand that stillness is more powerful than nervous movement, and that silence can be more commanding than noise. One of the most overlooked aspects of presence is eye contact. The way we look at others, whether with full attention or distracted glances, reveals everything about our level of focus. Many people struggle to hold eye contact because their minds are elsewhere. They are thinking about what to say next, checking their phone, or lost in thought. But when someone looks directly at us with full attention, we feel it. It creates an instant connection, a sense that the person in front of us is fully engaged. This is why truly magnetic people listen more than they speak. They are not waiting for their turn to talk. They are fully present in the moment, absorbing what is being said and processing it before responding. This makes their words carry more weight. A person who speaks after deep listening has more impact than someone who simply talks to fill space. Body language plays a critical role in an energetic presence. The way we stand, sit, and move sends subconscious signals about our level of focus. Slouched posture, crossed arms, and restless movement suggest uncertainty or distraction. But standing tall, shoulders relaxed, and movements that are intentional rather than reactive communicate confidence and focus. This is not about adopting a power pose for the sake of appearances. It is about aligning internal energy with external expression. Breath is another key factor in presence. Shallow, rapid breathing creates a sense of restlessness, while deep, controlled breathing signals calm authority. This is why public speakers, actors, and performers train their breath before stepping onto a stage. Their ability to remain composed under pressure is not just mental, it is physical. When the breath is steady, the mind follows. Another overlooked aspect of presence is the ability to hold space, to create an atmosphere where others feel at ease, understood, and drawn into the moment. People with scattered energy make others feel anxious. People with focused energy create an environment of clarity. This is why great leaders and mentors often have a grounding effect. They do not rush through conversations. They do not let distractions pull them away. They hold their attention like a still lake, reflecting back presence to those around them. The mind follows the body, and the body follows the mind. If the mind is restless, the body fidgets. If the body is still, the mind has a better chance of becoming still as well. This is why meditation and mindfulness practices are so powerful, not because they are mystical, but because they train the nervous system to remain steady in any situation. A person who has trained themselves to sit in silence for long periods, to focus on a single thought without distraction, is naturally more commanding than someone who is at the mercy of their impulses. One of the greatest misconceptions about presence is that it requires effort. Many people believe they need to project confidence, to perform in social situations, to appear more engaging. But real presence is not about adding anything. It is about removing what gets in the way, removing distraction, removing nervous energy, removing the habit of seeking external validation. Those who have mastered focus and presence do not rush through life. They walk into a room and take in their surroundings before acting. They do not feel the need to prove themselves. They understand that the person with the most presence is the one least affected by external noise. They do not let their attention be hijacked. They remain fully in control of where their energy goes. This is why presence is so rare in the modern world. We live in an era of constant stimulation, where attention is divided across multiple screens, conversations, and thoughts. Those who can hold their focus in the midst of distraction stand out effortlessly. They do not need to ask for attention. It comes to them naturally. But presence is not just about external interactions. It is about how we experience life itself. A person who is constantly lost in thought, distracted by past regrets or future worries, is never truly alive in the present. But someone who has trained themselves to focus on the moment, to feel the air on their skin, to taste their food fully, to listen to a friend without thinking of their next response, experiences life at a deeper level. Magnetic presence is the natural result of mastering concentration. When we train our focus, we train our ability to be fully here, fully engaged, fully alive. The world belongs to those who can direct their energy with intention. Those who cultivate this skill do not just accomplish more, they live with a power that cannot be ignored, because in the end, true presence is not about commanding attention. It is about becoming so deeply focused, so fully alive, that the world cannot help but pay attention to you. Chapter 9. The Art of Energetic Resilience. Energy is not just something we generate, it is something we protect. No matter how focused, disciplined, or intentional we are, life will test our ability to maintain clarity. Stress, setbacks, unexpected events, and emotional turbulence all threaten to scatter our energy and weaken our focus. This is where energetic resilience becomes the most valuable skill of all, the ability to recover quickly, reset, and maintain our internal power despite external chaos. Many people believe resilience is about endurance, pushing through exhaustion, suppressing emotions, and forcing productivity under pressure. But real resilience is not about working harder. It is about working with energy instead of against it. It is about knowing when to press forward and when to step back, when to conserve energy, and when to unleash it fully. It is about bending without breaking, moving without losing direction, and recovering without falling behind. The first key to energetic resilience is understanding energy cycles. No one can maintain peak focus indefinitely. The mind and body move through natural rhythms of high energy and low energy, tension and relaxation, exertion and recovery. Those who ignore these cycles, who try to sustain maximum output without rest, eventually burn out. But those who respect the natural flow of energy are able to operate at a high level for years without exhaustion. This is why some of the most disciplined people in the world incorporate deliberate recovery into their routines. Elite athletes do not train at maximum intensity every day. They balance intense effort with structured rest. The same principle applies to the mind. Those who master focus do not just know how to concentrate deeply, they also know how to reset quickly. They step away when needed, not as a form of avoidance, but as a way to return stronger. The fastest way to recover energy is through intentional disengagement. The mind, when given space, recalibrates. This is why some of the greatest breakthroughs in history did not happen at a desk, but during moments of rest, while taking a walk, gazing at the horizon, or sitting in silence. The brain, when freed from constant stimulation, processes information at a deeper level. This is why structured breaks enhance productivity rather than reduce it. A rested mind absorbs more, creates more, and operates with sharper clarity. However, emotional control is just as important to resilience as physical and mental energy management. Many people lose focus because their emotions are depleting their energy rather than because they are physically exhausted. Anger, frustration, concern, and anxiety take up brain resources and make it difficult to focus. For this reason, the foundation of mental strength is emotional resilience. It is the capacity to deal with feelings without letting them rule you. Reframing, the capacity to view stress as a source of energy rather than a barrier, is a straightforward yet effective technique for emotional resilience. Most people automatically withdraw when they feel overpowered. They interpret stress as an indication to halt. Mastering energetic resilience, however, teaches you how to turn stress into momentum. They see losses as an opportunity to refocus and improve their strategy, dissatisfaction as a sign of progress, and pressure as a sharpening force. Breath control is one of the best strategies for developing this type of resilience. The neurological system is closely connected to the breath. The body goes into a stress state when breathing is shallow and fast, which makes it hard to concentrate. Deep, controlled breathing, however, restores clarity and calm by sending a signal to the brain that it is safe. Breathwork is the quickest method to re-establish energy control in real time, which is why warriors, athletes, and meditators all stress it. Another key to energetic resilience is clarity of purpose. When setbacks occur, those with weak purpose lose direction. Their motivation collapses, their focus scatters, and they struggle to recover. But those with a clear mission, those who know exactly why they are doing what they do, recover faster. They do not waste energy on doubt. They do not let minor obstacles shake them. They stay rooted in their vision, adjusting their approach without abandoning their goal. This is why clarity is the ultimate stabilizer. The more we refine our focus, the more resilient we become. The most successful people are not those who avoid stress, but those who know how to channel stress without letting it consume them. They do not get lost in distractions, emotional turbulence, or external noise. They remain centered, knowing that their energy is too valuable to waste on things outside their control. A practical way to reinforce this resilience is creating personal rituals, specific actions that reset the mind and body. Some people go for a walk in nature. Others engage in intense physical movement. Some practice silence or deep meditation. These rituals act as anchors, returning energy to its natural state. They remind the mind that stress is temporary, that clarity can be restored, and that focus is a renewable resource. Another essential principle of resilience is self-renewal. Many people believe that success requires constant, uninterrupted effort. However, those who sustain high levels of performance understand that energy must be renewed as often as it is used. This is why some of the world's most productive minds prioritize sleep, exercise, creativity, and reflection as much as they prioritize work. They do not see rest as a weakness. They see it as a strategy for long-term effectiveness. The most overlooked but powerful form of energetic resilience is detachment from the outcome. Many people lose energy because they obsess over results, worrying about success, fearing failure, and constantly seeking validation. But those who operate at the highest level focus on the process, not the result. They put in the work without emotional attachment to immediate outcomes. They trust that consistent effort will lead to progress, even if results are not instant. This detachment frees energy that would otherwise be wasted on unnecessary stress. Resilience is not about never feeling tired. It is about knowing how to recharge faster than others. It is about training the mind to return to focus, even after stress, distraction, or failure. It is about developing an internal system where energy is not constantly lost, but consistently recovered, refined, and redirected toward what truly matters. Most people allow their energy to be dictated by external events. They are calm when life is easy, and anxious when life is difficult. But those who master energetic resilience remain steady no matter what happens. Their energy does not rise and fall based on circumstances. It remains stable, directed, and under their control. This is the ultimate advantage, because in a world where most people are exhausted, distracted, and overwhelmed, the rare few who know how to protect, recover, and refine their energy will always stand above the rest. Chapter 10. Concentration for Achievement. The ability to achieve great things is not based on luck, intelligence, or even talent. It is based on the ability to direct sustained concentration toward a single goal, long enough for it to take form in reality. Everything extraordinary, whether a work of art, a scientific breakthrough, or a personal transformation, is the result of focus applied consistently over time. Most people never reach their full potential, not because they lack ability, but because they cannot hold their attention on one thing long enough to make meaningful progress. They jump from idea to idea, from project to project, constantly starting, but rarely finishing. They become excited about new opportunities, only to abandon them when the initial enthusiasm fades. Their focus is scattered, and their energy is fragmented. They work hard, but achieve little, because they never concentrate their efforts long enough to generate true momentum. But those who achieve at the highest level operate differently. They understand that mastery, success, and transformation are not the result of occasional bursts of effort, but of deep, continuous focus. They do not seek quick wins or instant gratification. They build their achievements brick by brick, day after day, through the power of concentrated attention. The first key to applying concentration for achievement is choosing a clear target. Many people struggle with focus because they have not decided what they truly want. They set vague goals: be successful, be healthier, make more money. But without precision, the mind cannot organize itself around a clear objective. A focused mind works like a guided missile. It does not drift aimlessly. It locks onto a target with relentless precision. Clarity is the foundation of all achievement. Once a clear goal is set, the next step is structured concentration. Many people make the mistake of working in an unfocused way, multitasking, working inconsistently, or allowing distractions to break their momentum. But those who achieve the most structure their work in a way that protects and amplifies focus. They eliminate unnecessary tasks, prioritize deep work, and block out distractions. They create sacred time windows where concentration is absolute, allowing them to make rapid progress in a short amount of time. But sustained concentration requires more than just discipline. It requires emotional endurance. Many people abandon their goals not because they lack skill, but because they cannot handle the discomfort that comes with deep focus. The mind resists long periods of sustained attention. It craves stimulation, novelty, and immediate reward. This is why most people struggle with concentration, not because they lack ability, but because they have not trained their minds to overcome the boredom, frustration, and impatience that arise when working deeply on a single task. To develop true focus, we must retrain the mind to handle discomfort. We must learn to sit with resistance rather than escape from it. The greatest breakthroughs happen when we push past the initial urge to quit, when we stay with a problem longer than others would, when we refine an idea past the point where most would settle for good enough. Those who master concentration understand that what feels difficult at the moment is often the path to greatness. Another fundamental principle of concentration for achievement is momentum. Focus is not just about intense effort, it is about consistency. A person who works deeply for one day and then gets distracted for a week will achieve far less than someone who works at a moderate pace but does so every single day. The mind thrives on rhythm, and once momentum is built, it becomes easier to sustain. This is why the greatest achievers in history, whether in science, art, sports, or business, were known for their relentless daily dedication to their craft. They did not wait for inspiration. They showed up every day, focused their energy, and let time compound their efforts. One of the greatest killers of concentration is mental fragmentation. The tendency to split focus across too many goals at once. Many people try to improve multiple areas of their lives simultaneously, learning a new skill, building a business, improving health, and deepening relationships, all at the same time. But divided focus leads to divided results. The mind, like light, is most powerful when it is concentrated. Those who achieve the most are not those who do the most. They are those who commit deeply to one pursuit at a time, mastering it before moving on to the next. But deep concentration does not mean rigidity. Many people resist focus because they believe it limits their freedom. But the paradox of concentration is that it creates more freedom, not less. A person who focuses deeply on financial success gains the freedom to live life on their own terms. A person who focuses on mastering a skill gains the ability to express themselves at the highest level. A person who focuses on their health gains the freedom to experience life with energy and vitality. Concentration is not a restriction. It is a pathway to a life without limits. Another overlooked aspect of focus is eliminating distractions before they arise. Many people rely on willpower to avoid distractions, but willpower is a limited resource. A better strategy is to remove distractions entirely so that focus becomes the default state. This means structuring the environment to minimize interruptions, setting clear boundaries around work, and designing daily routines that make deep focus effortless. The best way to improve concentration is not to fight distractions. It is to create a life where distractions have no place. Ultimately, concentration for achievement is not about working harder. It is about working smarter, deeper, and with more intention. It is about training the mind to sustain effort long enough for results to compound. It is about creating systems that focus on the natural state rather than something that requires constant effort. Most people spend their lives chasing success, jumping from one thing to the next, never staying long enough to make real progress. But those who understand the power of concentration know that success is not something to be chased. It is something that is created, moment by moment, through the power of sustained, focused effort. In the end, the difference between those who achieve and those who do not is not luck, talent, or intelligence. It is the ability to lock in a goal, eliminate distractions, and sustain focus until the work is done. Those who master this principle will find that achievement is no longer a struggle. It is simply a natural consequence of their ability to direct energy with precision. Chapter 11. Beyond the Mind, the Universal Flow. There comes a point in the mastery of concentration where focus becomes more than just a tool for achievement. It becomes a gateway to something deeper. At the highest level, concentration is no longer about effort, willpower, or discipline. It transforms into a state of effortless flow, a synchronization between the mind, the body, and the universe itself. Throughout history, the greatest thinkers, artists, and innovators have described moments where time seemed to disappear, where their actions felt guided by something beyond conscious thought. Athletes call it being in the zone. Musicians describe it as becoming one with their instrument. Scientists refer to it as deep insight emerging from nowhere. It is a state where effort ceases and action becomes automatic. This is not magic, nor is it luck. It is the highest level of focus, where the mind stops resisting and merges with the task at hand. The idea that focus can transcend the self is not new. In Eastern traditions, it is called Wu Wei, the Taoist concept of effortless action. In Zen, it is known as Mushin, the state of no mind, where thought no longer interferes with movement. Modern psychology refers to it as a flow state, a condition where concentration is so deep that awareness of time, self, and effort vanishes, leaving only pure engagement. What all of these perspectives reveal is that true mastery of concentration is not about control. It is about surrender. When focus reaches its peak, the conscious mind steps aside and something greater takes over. The chess grandmaster no longer calculates every move. He simply sees the board and acts instinctively. The artist no longer forces creativity. Ideas flow through them effortlessly. The martial artist no longer thinks about technique. Movement arises naturally as if guided by something beyond thought. The challenge most people face is that they never reach this state because they are too mentally cluttered. They are constantly shifting between tasks, worrying about outcomes, overanalyzing their actions, or resisting the natural flow of energy. They try too hard, and in doing so they block themselves from entering a deeper state of focus. But when distractions are eliminated, when the mind is trained to remain still, and when attention is sustained long enough, a shift occurs. Effort turns into ease. The mind, body, and external reality synchronize, and everything begins to align. This is not just a psychological phenomenon. It is a fundamental aspect of how energy works. Everything in the universe operates on rhythm. The planets follow precise orbits. The tides move with the pull of the moon. The seasons change in perfect cycles. The same principle applies to human focus. When the mind is fragmented, it fights against this natural flow. But when it is fully aligned, it moves with it, tapping into a force greater than the individual self. Many of the greatest breakthroughs in history did not happen through force. They happened through alignment. Einstein's theory of relativity did not emerge from hours of exhausting calculation. It came to him in a flash of insight while he was daydreaming. Mozart did not struggle to compose music. He described his symphonies as arriving fully formed in his mind, as if he were merely writing them down. These moments are not random. They occur when the focus is so refined that the barriers between the individual mind and universal intelligence dissolve. The problem is that most people are disconnected from this deeper state. Their energy is scattered, their thoughts are restless, and their focus is too weak to break through to the level of true flow. But this can be changed. Just as a river clears when the turbulence settles, the mind becomes sharper when distractions, doubts, and resistance fade away. The key is not to force focus. It is to remove everything that disrupts it. One of the fastest ways to experience this shift is through deep immersion. When we engage in a task for long enough without interruption, the mind naturally begins to sync with the rhythm of what we are doing. This is why some of the most productive people in the world work in extended, distraction-free blocks of time. They do not jump between tasks or check their phones every few minutes. They enter a state of deep engagement, allowing themselves to become absorbed. Another way to access this flow is through trusting the process. Many people block themselves from deep focus because they constantly question their actions. They overthink, they hesitate, and they analyze every move before making it. But those who master concentration understand that at a certain point, thinking must stop and doing must begin. They trust their training, their instincts, and the natural intelligence of the mind itself. An important part of this process is breathing. The conscious and unconscious minds are connected via the breath. Shallow, irregular breathing is an indication of stress and impairs concentration. Breathing deeply and rhythmically helps to stabilize the neurological system, which makes flow possible. For this reason, breathing exercises are essential in martial arts, meditation, and peak performance training. It is the link that connects effort and surrender, as well as thought and action. Letting rid of self-consciousness, however, is the most profound component of this idea. A lot of people have trouble focusing because they are overly self-conscious. They worry about their performance, how they stack up against others, and whether they are moving forward quickly enough. But when the self is gone and the work is all that's left, that's when true concentration happens. This is why exceptional performers, artists, and monks frequently talk about times when they feel as though action is just passing through them, rather than them acting. At this point, concentration turns into a spiritual process. Achievement and productivity are no longer the only goals. Now, it's about becoming so fully present in the moment that all else fades away. This is the reason that delight results from intense focus. The cacophony of past regrets and future anxieties is eliminated. Inner doubt is silenced. With every sense sharpened, every thought clear, and every movement exact, it enables us to live life to the fullest. This is the final stage of mastering focus, not just using it to complete tasks, but using it to live fully in the present, in sync with the natural intelligence of the universe itself. It is the realization that life is not something to be controlled, but something to be experienced with total awareness. The mind becomes a mirror, reflecting reality without distortion. Action becomes effortless, flowing from a place of deep connection. Most people will never experience this level of focus because they will never train their minds to remain still long enough. But those who do will discover a power beyond thought, beyond effort, beyond the limits of what they believed was possible. Because in the end, the greatest form of concentration is not about controlling the mind. It is about becoming one with the moment so completely that focus becomes the natural state of being. Conclusion: becoming the architect of your energy. Everything in life is a product of where we direct our energy. Every thought we entertain, every action we take, and every habit we reinforce shape the reality we experience. The difference between those who feel stuck and those who create extraordinary lives is not intelligence, luck, or talent. It is the ability to focus energy with intention and consistency. Most people drift through life, their attention scattered across endless distractions, their mental energy consumed by trivial concerns. They react rather than create. They allow external forces to dictate their focus rather than taking control of it themselves. As a result, their energy is depleted before they ever use it for something meaningful. But those who learn to master concentration, who protect and direct their mental and emotional energy with precision, gain a power that is almost limitless. This book has explored the mechanics of focus, the hidden leaks that drain our energy, and the art of directing attention with purpose. We have seen how willpower is not about struggle, but about removing resistance. How deep concentration is not about force, but about alignment, and how true mastery is not about effort, but about entering the flow of reality itself. The question is no longer, can you focus? The question is, will you train yourself to do it? Because mastery of focus is not a skill you are born with. It is a discipline you cultivate. It is a practice, refined over time, until it becomes second nature. Imagine what becomes possible when your mind no longer fights against itself, when your thoughts align effortlessly with your goals, and when you no longer waste energy on distractions, doubts, and hesitation. Imagine moving through life with clarity, precision, and deep presence, where every action is deliberate, every decision is intentional, and every moment is fully experienced. This is not an unreachable ideal. It is a reality available to anyone who is willing to reclaim control of their own energy. But mastery requires commitment. It requires daily refinement. It requires treating your attention like the most valuable resource you own, because it is. Energy flows wherever focus goes, and the way you direct it will determine everything about your life. The path ahead is clear. You can remain as you are, continuing to operate in a state of distraction, divided focus, and wasted energy. Or you can step into a higher level of awareness, training your mind to become the architect of your reality rather than a passive observer of it. The choice is yours. Because in the end, focus is not just about achievement, it is about how deeply and intentionally you choose to live.